Well, I did it to myself again. I have gone down the rabbit hole that is trying to get the most out of the iPhone video camera. And this year with the 15 Pro Max, I honestly think they have given us something that is going to revolutionize the way a lot of people shoot video, especially on their phone. However, there's one major issue, and so far, Apple still hasn't fixed it. Now, when you look at the base specs on this phone, things really haven't changed that much. It still shoots at 4K at up to 60 frames per second. It has a couple slow motion modes, including time lapse, as well as they still have brought over cinematic mode that still caps out at that 30 frames per second, but we still have 24, which, as we all know, is the right frames per second for cinematic mode. The phone also still shoots in ProRes, but this is where things have slightly changed. Now, whenever you're shooting in ProRes, you can choose to shoot directly to the Photos app on the phone itself. However, you do also have the option of plugging in an external hard drive and being able to record to that. Now, this is where some of the changes with ProRes have started. First of all, now you can shoot in ProRes up to 4K 60 frames per second, but in order to shoot at that 60 frames per second, you are going to have to go out to an external drive. Also, when shooting in ProRes, now you have the option of shooting in what is called Apple Log. Now, this is a brand new color profile that if you've been doing video for a long time, you've probably heard of Log, or you probably even shot on Log in other cameras, but this is the first time that we have seen Log on an iPhone. Now, this is where a lot of my personal hurdles have started with this brand new iPhone, because when it comes to shooting Log on this phone, I'm just going to keep it real brief. It's amazing. Now, shooting Log on the phone not only gives you a flatter picture profile and gives you that 10-bit color, which gives you so much more room to actually edit in post, but I've actually found that not only when shooting in Log do you get that, but you also get away from that over sharpening that happens with a lot of iPhone footage. The over sharpening of the footage is a dead giveaway for me when it comes to knowing if something was shot on a phone or not. However, with Log on this phone now, that over sharpening is gone, and with the ability to color correct your footage, you have way more room in post in order to get a actual usable image. Another major difference with this phone versus the last one, and this is specific to the Max, and honestly the only reason why I went with the Max, is now Apple has upgraded to a 5x zoom camera using their special technology in order to execute this. Now, personally, when I first saw the 5x zoom camera, I was actually ecstatic because I had last year's Pro model phone with 3x camera, and the difference between the 1, the 2x, and the 3x really wasn't enough for me to get excited about. However, now with this 5x zoom camera, it really starts to feel like all three of these cameras are drastically different. Going from the ultra wide to the main camera to now the zoom 5x camera, you start to really feel like you have quite a few focal lengths to choose from, and you really can tell when it comes to editing content together how easily this footage cuts together, and it starts to not feel like it was all just shot from a single camera or a single phone with a single lens. Another thing I noticed with the 5x camera is that you do get a decent amount of bokeh with it, especially if your subject is pretty far from the background. With that 5x, just like with other telephoto lenses on professional cameras, you do get some great compression of the background. However, I will say that, again, because you are shooting on a cell phone sensor, you're not going to get that same type of shallow depth of field as you would with a traditional lens, which is something that is kind of a giveaway when using the 5x lens on an iPhone. Now, when you pair these amazing lenses up with Apple's processing and even with Apple Log, it's really kind of a unique look. As I said, you are getting Log, which is going to be a more flat, desaturated look. However, it seems like Apple is still utilizing their HDR format even when shooting in Log in order to give you that amazing dynamic range when shooting video. I noticed that even when shooting Log, especially up against a subject next to a very bright window, I'm still able to retain all the detail throughout the window as well as decent lighting on my subject. Now, again, most of this is being taken care of with the built-in camera app. However, this year, as a kind of special bonus on top, we got an amazingly new camera app, and it wasn't even from Apple. Now, before we jump into the next topic on the iPhone, I want to quickly thank today's video sponsor, Uscreen, for sponsoring this section of the video. Memberships, memberships, memberships. Now, I'm sure you've been hearing a lot of people and a lot of creators specifically talking about memberships as a great way to monetize your content online. And one of the best platforms to be able to monetize this content is through Uscreen. Think of Uscreen as a way to create your own Netflix-style membership platform. And what's great about Uscreen is not only do they allow you to create this platform, but they will actually help help you through the entire process, because this is literally all they do. Uscreen has already paid out over $150 million of membership revenue to their creators, which has allowed creators like myself to create a measurable, sustainable source of income. For example, Uscreen has also helped me to launch my own platform called the Creative Fam Academy. It is where I teach filmmaking and video production directly through my membership, and I even have an entire course dedicated to shooting video on iPhone. Uscreen helped make this possible because they have a 24/7 customer service line that will literally help you through the entire process, and most people who start their own platform within Uscreen find that they are profitable within just 3 months. Now, I know if you're thinking about monetizing your content, there are lots of different platforms you can go with online in order to execute this. However, because Uscreen is 100% focused on memberships, they have a team that's there to help you become successful. So if you're interested in starting your own membership platform and you want to give Uscreen a shout, give them a ring and let them know that I'm the one who sent you. I'd really appreciate that. And trust me, they will take great care of you. And of course, I'll have a link down below in the description for checking out Uscreen for yourself, so that way you can see what it's all about. And I'll also have a link to my platform, the Creative Fam Academy, if you want to see what a Uscreen platform looks like in action. I'm saying it right here and right now. If you are someone who wants to shoot video on your iPhone, you absolutely have to download the Blackmagic Camera App. This is by far one of my favorite apps on the iPhone and has quickly become my favorite go-to video app, specifically when shooting on the iPhone. And I say video specifically because unfortunately this app doesn't let you take photos. But what it does in video, it does so well that I can disregard that fact altogether. Now, when it comes to shooting video, this is going to give you full control over your camera, and this is full manual control. You can go in and change things like your ISO, you can change things like your shutter speed, and you can lock these things into place. You also can take it as far as even hooking up a monitor and getting a clean HDMI feed out, especially if you want to film yourself on your iPhone using those rear cameras and you want to hook up a monitor in order to see yourself. I actually tried to do this last year using the iPhone camera app, but it came with lots of jitters and lots of issues. However, I've noticed that with the Blackmagic, once I got everything updated, everything just worked great. Now, I have to mention that yes, I did have a couple bugs and issues using this app when I first got it started, but ultimately after kind of dialing it in, uninstalling the app and reinstalling it a few times, everything seems to be working great now. And so if you are running into any issues with this app, I would say just uninstall it, reinstall it, and then it should work great. This is version 1, so I'll give them a little bit of a pass. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the phone can capture in ProRes. However, if you're using the Apple app, you're going to be recording in ProRes 444, which are going to be massive files, which starts to become one of my major issues with this phone. Whenever you're shooting in ProRes and you're shooting in log in order to get the most out of this camera, which is kind of what I would like to do at all times, the files become incredibly hard to manage. Not only do they take up a ton of space on the phone, but if you then do decide to hook it up to an external hard drive, well then now in order to actually work with the files, you're gonna have to then move it to your computer, and it becomes an entire post-production process. And this is where the Blackmagic app is really nice, because it will allow you to shoot at some different varieties of ProRes. But at the end of the day, you're gonna run into sort of the same issue where either you're saving those directly to your Files app on the phone, or you're having to move those to an external hard drive. Now, Apple has come out with their own LUT in order to go from log to Rec 709. However, I will say that this LUT doesn't 100% get you all the way there. You are gonna need to make some additional adjustments in order to get your image looking good. But I will say that I believe that there are gonna be tons of iPhone LUTs, hint, hint, that are going to be coming out in order for you to be able to get a better image out of your phone. Now, another feature that I tested out that I love that they continued over from last year is action mode. And this is basically gonna give you basically a gimbal on your phone. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that whenever you switch your phone over into action mode, you're gonna be dropping down to 2.8K instead of the original 4K. You're also cropping in on your image ever so slightly. However, I will say that some of the footage that I've seen from the action mode looks so good that it almost makes me feel like you don't even need a gimbal. The only time I really still feel like you're absolutely going to want to run with a gimbal is if you are trying to get a wide shot. That crop is fairly substantial, especially when shooting on the wide angle lens. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're shooting things like real estate or you're shooting areas that are kind of tight. Now, this video is not here to try to convince you that you no longer need a professional camera and that an iPhone is going to get the job done. However, if you are someone who's thinking about using your iPhone to create a lot of content with and capture video, then there are some things you need to keep in mind. For starters, A lot of times, the reason why most people like to capture stuff on their phone is for the simplicity. They want to be able to shoot it, edit it, possibly even on the phone, and then be able to publish it directly to your favorite social media platform. And this is where I'm starting to see a few issues. I captured some content on this phone in log so that way I can get the best image quality out of the phone possible. And then I started the process to try to actually edit it to post something online. And this is where I hit most of my roadblocks. For starters, there's no way with most of the video editing apps out there in order to actually color grade the footage to make it usable. Most of them just want to use presets that they pre-created, but they're all created with the original Rec 709 design instead of working with this log footage. And this is going to be a massive issue. This means now if you want to really shoot something fast and get it out, it's going to be really hard to do that, especially because you don't have LUT support with most apps. I did find one app that actually supports LUTs. However, it's a very slow process. You have to actually choose your clip, apply the LUT, and then export it back into your camera roll, at which at that point, now you can actually go ahead and throw it into your editor. I really hope that Apple allows you to press a button and apply their own LUT to the log footage directly inside of your camera app. Either that needs to happen, or we're going to need to see all of these video editing apps start to apply LUT support within them. Another massive hurdle that a lot of people are going to need to overcome, and I think I've found a solution, is with getting the files off the phone that are recorded directly internally. If you are shooting ProRes 444 log footage directly to the phone, well, these files are huge. And yes, Apple did give you a faster USB-C port on the bottom, but I have found that using image capture on the Mac in order to move things off still takes quite a bit of time. So my solution has been to actually go ahead and grab the phone, plug in an external hard drive to the phone itself, and then within the Photos app, save my individual clips to the hard drive. And so the way you do that is you actually go about selecting the clips you want to move, you go to the share button, and then you choose save to files, at which point you're just going to navigate to your external hard drive. And then when you do it that way, I have found that it moves those clips to your external hard drive incredibly fast. Now, I know the big question is, should you upgrade? And my honest opinion is, if you're sitting at a 13 or older, it might be a good idea to go ahead and upgrade, especially because Apple has fantastic deals right now, especially for trade-ins. That said, if you're sitting at a 14 and you have no care for the log feature, you just want to use the iPhone to capture video like normal, then I would honestly say it's not really worth the upgrade. Before we get out of here, I want to say a massive shout out and thank you to all the members of the Creative Film Academy who help make videos like this possible. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this. Also, be sure to check out the links down below in the description. I do have an entire course dedicated specifically to shooting video on the iPhone. I'll have that link down below so you guys can check that out as well. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.